All right, we're all set.
We're all set, okay. So we have a quorum, I take it. Okay, hang on. There we go. Okay. This is the Landmarks Commission meeting. That's for Wednesday, September 13th. Item A on the agenda is the Zoom meeting information. And looking at our screen, I guess most people have read that. Item B is our roll call. Stephanie?
It appears everyone but Susan is present currently. Wait,
There's
All right.
Rebecca. Okay, beautiful. Should we wait for that? Let's wait for them to get on our screen, or should we just go right ahead? Item number C, approval of the agenda for tonight. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the agenda say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Are there any nays? Are there any nays? Okay, the ayes have it. Tonight's agenda is approved. Do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes, excuse me, for July 19th?
So I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Are there any nays? Are there any nays? Does anyone object? Okay, the motion carries. Item E, regular business, election of officers. And you said, Stephanie, you said you take this part.
Yes, so we're gonna start with the election for chair. Ron is currently your chair. We had this on our agenda last month, but we were missing quite a few members of the commission, so wanted to bring it to the full commission, which are missing only Susan. So I think that that's enough people to vote, but I will leave that up to your discretion if you guys want to move forward.
Nominate Ron.
Okay. Any other nominations or a second for Ron?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, is there anyone else who's dying to be chair? I mean, who really wants to do it?
I'll express my sentiment by seconding Ron.
Okay. Well, we have a motion and we have a second to nominate me. So I guess all those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain because it's me. Are there any nays out there? Anyone opposed to it? Is anyone opposed? Okay, well, I guess I'm still your sitting chair, folks.
Good.
And then I guess I will go ahead and is there anyone, Paul, we can't see or hear you. I don't know if you're there, but are you still interested in being the vice chair?
Unless somebody else wants to step up, I will continue to do it.
Okay, here.
I'll nominate Paul.
Okay.
I second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of keeping Paul on as the vice, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Is anyone opposed? Are there any naysayers? Okay, welcome back, Paul, as vice chair. Thank you. Item E, number 2, certificate of appropriateness 23-41, consideration with possible action on a design review for replacement front porch columns located at 711 Eliza Street.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jason. Here,
Hi, Jason.
as usual, you see on the left map of the subject building, on the right, not too recent picture of the same building. We've discussed this one a few times recently. Some window changes. It's been the subject of other COAs, and this COA came before the commission a month or two ago, but was pulled at the last minute. It's back. This COA requests your consideration in allowing the replacement of the wooden columns on the upper and lower porches of the front of the house. Last time I did a site visit, I noticed that I think it was the inboard columns aren't an exact match of the outboard columns, and down on the first, I should put like here to say first deck, first story, the outboard columns have significant replacement portions. I'm not sure if that's visible in the photographs or not, but the bottoms of some of the columns have been chopped out and replaced with kind of box framing. Anyway, looking forward a slide. There's the lower ones. Yep. So moving forward, yet again, proposed replacement material. This fiberglass column, it looks like a good match. And I note in your packet that the existing columns are in pretty rough shape. So with that in mind, that leads into the recommendation that the permission be granted to replace the existing columns with new columns, noting that the new proposed replacements are a good match for the visual qualities of the existing columns, and kind of bearing in mind that similar proposals have been made in the past and approved by this commission. So thank you.
Motion to approve for staff's recommendation.
All right, we have a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
David seconds it. With the motion to approve in a second, all those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Are there any naysayers? Does anyone disapprove? Does anyone disapprove? Okay, with that said, the motion carries. It is approved to replace those columns. I would just like to add they've done a beautiful job on that house. Very, very nice. It's right through my backyard. I can see it. Item number E4. Wait, sorry, E3. Consider us certificate of appropriateness 23-14. Consideration of possible action on a design review for front window removal and replacement located at 1137 South Monroe. Jason, take it away.
This is actually me.
Oh,
This is
hi, Stephanie.
our administrative studies design, so I'm gonna take over on this one. The
Okay.
property in front of you is 1137 South Monroe, should be pretty familiar. We've reviewed this house, this is our third time now, I think. So showing here on the map, the location on South Monroe. This is what the property looked like back in 2015, and then the plans that were submitted showing the side profile. We will be discussing these windows yet again. And another photo here to show what work has been done on that property. Those are just for reference, just to refresh you guys on that application. So that application was presented to you all back in May. During that application process, we had a pretty robust conversation about the project in its entirety. There were a couple pieces to that project. So the COA received partial approval with some conditions that were listed in your staff report. One of those conditions were that the windows that have already been removed shall be restored to their previous state. This includes all three windows being present at their previous size and material, which is glass block. With that COA partial approval that was sent out to the applicant, they were informed of their decision or their ability to appeal that decision. No appeal was ever submitted for that. We had gone back and forth via email, which was all detailed in your staff report, about some outstanding items that were still present at the site that we worked through with a separate COA application. And then with the windows, in our code, it's pretty expressive about us working with people to come to a solution. So that's what we were striving to do, trying to put together a timeline for restoration of those three windows. The emails seem to not be going so well, so we decided to do an in-person meeting. So Jason and one of our inspection officials met on site to discuss the project, in which we found some other outstanding issues, some other outstanding things that needed work. So a second COA was submitted with that information. So after that email exchange, we had that in-person meeting, in which again, the three windows were shown on the drawing that was presented. That was what was submitted to our inspection team. All of this is again detailed in your staff report. So when asking for more information, when we're going to receive a timeline for the replacement of those windows to restore them back to the three glass block windows, we received a new COA application, which is what's in front of you, for the exact same project. So there has not been any change in information. There has not been any change in permits, in our stance. There's been nothing new on this, so there's no new reason for a COA application. However, after discussing with our legal department, it was determined that we as staff could not deny the application, nor could we not accept the application, because our ordinance does not allow for that. So in reviewing our ordinance, we realized that we need to tighten up our language a little bit so we can close up this loophole of not allowing repetitive applications for the same projects that have already been denied through this body. However, without that language, we were required to bring it to you to review again. With that, I do have something I'd like to read to you that's a little bit more of the legal standing behind this. We also have here a couple of people from our legal team, if there are any questions that come up from the legalities of this. But I think that this reading should kind of clear up a lot of our stance from a staff perspective. So staff recommends denial of the COA application on the basis that the commission has already considered the application in a previous proceeding, and the applicant is therefore barred from reapplying for a COA for the exact same work. In a legal proceeding, this is known as claim preclusion. When a claim has been litigated in its entirety and there has been a final judgment on the merits of that claim, a person is precluded from continuing to bring the same case before the court over and over again, hoping for a different result in a subsequent proceeding. This principle applies to quasi-judicial proceedings in front of the commission as well as to the courts. There are 3 elements to claim preclusion. The same parties were involved in both proceedings. The entire claim was litigated in the initial proceeding, and there was a final valid judgment on the merits. First, the parties are all the same. It's the same applicant applying to the city. Second, the applicant and the city fully litigated the same COA in front of the commission on May 17th, 2023. The work the applicant asked the commission to approve in this COA application is identical to the work that was discussed back in May, and both the applicant and the city were given the chance to be fully heard on the subject. Finally, the commission entered a final valid judgment on the merits of the COA at that meeting. The validity of the judgment was confirmed when the applicant chose not to appeal the commission's decision, and the 30-day deadline for doing so has passed. All 3 elements of claim preclusion are therefore met in this situation, and the commission should deny this application on the grounds that claim preclusion prevents the applicant from filing a new application for a COA that has already been denied. So that is our official stance as your Landmarks Commission staff.
Ron, this is David. At this point, I'd like to make a motion to open the floor. In particular, I'd like to hear the applicant if available. So I'm making a motion to open the floor.
Well, I'll second that motion. I mean, if I can do that. Are the applicants available?
Yes.
Yes, okay, okay. So we have a motion and a second to open the floor. All those in favor, so say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anyone opposed to it? Okay, the floor is open.
All right, thank you. So,
I'm sorry, could you state your name and address when you start?
yeah, my name
Thank
is
you.
John Hertman, and I live at 1133 Saltman Road, own the property at 1137 Saltman Road. I received this last night, 8 o'clock, because that's when I got off the plane from the West Coast in Minneapolis. It's frightening to think that nobody, since you had legal on this and everything else, and nobody thought, well, maybe since you've had it for over a month, my application, that you couldn't come forward to me and say, look, we're not going to deal with this. It is a different situation, okay? Because we're talking about 2 windows now, not 3, it's 2 openings, excuse me, not 3. I notified staff within a day after a meeting in May that there was a note on the plan that removed the 3rd window because it had to be and was be stuccoed in because the railing for the new staircase that was already installed, already done, would hit that window. So now we got 2 openings. Staff denies they believe there's 3. Note 2 on the plan says there's 2. Note 2 says it'll be removed. Note 7 says the other 2 black spot windows will be repaired. There was an administrative error initially at the city that allowed the permit to be issued. And all I did was the good citizen saying, oh, I got this letter in the mail. I mean, I got this thing in October. In April, I get it. And in May, they slap a not stop work on my garage. And then said I had a garage permit. I have a remodel permit. It's been inspected over and over. In talking to my architect, I said, why did the windows get replaced? He said it's code. On the 23rd of June, when we had the meeting on site, Eric was there and Jason was there. And that meeting was concluded when I said, Eric, you will go back and verify the code that those windows have to be openable. Because the code says 3% of the floor area in every livable space will have openable windows. Those are the only two that there are there. That's the two windows. So the architect made the decision. If I'd have acted on the building permit I had to remodel a house and never come to this commission, those windows are approved in the city. I had a permit and I still have a permit. So all I did was say, okay, look, it's a different set of circumstances. There are only two windows. The the staff has taken the position that it's not different, that there are still three. And as Jason pointed out in an email to me, note 7 supersedes note 2, no explanation given. Well, you can imagine, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, not the dumbest, I'm kind of in between. But when somebody tells me something supersedes something and has no credible explanation of why, then I wonder about the agenda and the bias. Everybody has a right to a bias, but nobody has a right to determine and to sway the conversation about what's there. I finally offer that house is not a classic Mediterranean, as was told you in May, and my house next to it is not a modern ranch, which was told to you in May at this meeting. In your packets at that day, it was a classic international design on 37 and Prairie School on 33. So I wondered at that time, I said, does anybody look? And then in that meeting, a question was asked to Jason. Can you authoritatively say that those glass blocks are historic? And his answer was no, which I thought settled the question. You went back to ordinary business, and one of the commissioners said, I want glass block windows. And that's how it got back in to the conversation. It was within a day. I said, and yes, that's what it says. Did I go to the council? No. Because I read that you're supposed to work with me to come to a conclusion. And you would think that once you had an administrative error and the windows were in May, somebody would have said, geez, that might cost $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 to take them out. I offered the staff here at that time, I said, can we talk about two windows and glass block here? I'll put a panel over it so it looks like glass block. No, we want 3. Well, I'm done with that. And I hope that they started the conversation with legal when they called them in, or when they went to visit with them, that we have an administrative error here. And work had been done from October. I have nothing else. I'll answer any question you want, but I did offer another COA with a complete explanation of all this on the back, written out. I have emails that says everything I just told you. And I never used anybody's name. I said the city, the staff, but it is people here that are doing it. And 518 requested reconsideration as the commission wasn't provided the notes on the plan packet of information. The city official's position is that decisions of the commission will not be reconsidered. The city's early position is that I have a garage permit. I never had a garage permit. The permit is to remodel the house. Numerous inspections between October and April had been done on the house. Everything in the house, everything was brought up to code. The plan submitted to the city permitted in October included notes to remove the third window and prepare it with stucco. The window was removed to accommodate the railing and the staircase. I sent the staff pictures of that railing and the wall. The COA requests the approval of glass block, demands exchanging glass block windows. The windows are required by building code SB 379.10. And I asked them to go back and verify it. I was sent an email by Jason. Now be careful here. Oh, we grandfathered. What? You grandfathered it? You grandfathered before you give me the permit, maybe, but not after. I'm kind of done with this. I'm totally done with it. If you went over to see that house that was falling, I had the roof of the garage falling in, the bathtub was going through the floor, and you go over there now, I had 2 inspections today, plumbing, heating, the electrical last week. Every inspector in that house said, this is beautiful. What a great job. The job of the commission, and I want to say this. You got a picture of them both. If it isn't international design yet, what else is it? Now, if you have any other questions, I'll answer them. But I think it's incredible that this staff would have met with legal, had my application, my new application for over a month, and I got this email yesterday. I have nothing else to offer. Administrative error. And ever since that happened, they've been trying to cover it up. I'll take questions.
Ron, given that we're getting no questions from the commission, I make a motion to close the floor.
Yeah, okay. We have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed to closing the floor? No? Okay, the floor is closed. And David, do you have something else you'd like to offer there?
Yeah, I certainly understand the applicant's frustrations. It's understandable. But the reality is we're focusing exclusively on these windows. Whether there's interpretation about style design, fair enough. Email exchanges, okay. But this commission has made a decision about those windows. In fact, it was my motion that because that work, which is clearly of substantial effect on the exterior, was done without a COA, we correctly ruled that it must be repaired and restored to what it was. I understand his frustration. There is another way of going about this. Rather than appealing to us, it is to go through the Common Council, which as a layperson, I imagine is laborious and perhaps confusing. But nonetheless, my position is going to be that we sustain our position, which was the motion to deny the COA. Before I make a motion, I'd welcome any discussion.
Well, we have legal sitting in the room, and I guess I do have a question. I am a little bit curious about this administrative error that he's talking about, and is there something to that legally, or you know, where does that stand? And
I'm gonna cut in for that. There was no administrative error. This is the same information that we had for you back in May. The plans that were
Okay.
submitted showed all of those windows. They had those notes. All of the windows were there, though. The building inspection division is completely backing us up on this decision. They agree that that work was not part of the permitted work because it visually showed all 3 windows on every page of the plans that were submitted. It was not detailed in the permit work. Additionally, they also support us in restoring the glass block because they are grandfathered in, not by our code, but by building code standards. That because the windows were not operable and should not have been removed, they are not required to put operable windows in. So there is no issue from our building inspection division side. So there was not an administrative error. The only error was that it was reviewed and that the garage was allowed work. The rest of the permit was internal work for the property, which we do not have purview over.
And if I could just add, Mr. Chair, one additional point on the issue of just being, receiving building permits. Is that, section 44 and 1552 specifically says a building permit or other municipal permits shall be invalid if they're obtained without the presentation of a COA required for the proposed work, which I believe is the
Okay.
case here.
well, thank you both for that. That you answered my question. Thank you.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Chair,
Yes. Alden.
question for city legal. My recollection was that the applicant had 30 days to file an appeal after the last hearing. If after today's decision, are they, even though legal's opinion is that this is improperly before the commission, does that reset another 30-day clock to be able to submit an appeal to city council?
Yes, it will, because I believe the position is actually that we're going to, depending on your vote, another letter will be issued. If it's a denial, as an example, the appeal language will be provided and the applicant will have 30 days to appeal the decision to common council, as was the case in the May 19th and July 21st letter, because we are in fact suggesting a decision by the commission on the application, as opposed to
Okay,
as opposed to what you had mentioned, which is that it's improperly before.
okay, so bottom line is, you know, and I don't want to presume what everyone else is going to vote. Last time I supported in favor of the COA. I think I was the only one that did that, and that, you know, and I'm going to do that again today. Regardless of the outcome, though, I just want to make it clear for the applicant who's sitting in the room right now that he will have that opportunity to file an appeal if the commission upholds its prior decision. And just to encourage the applicant to do that within 30 days, and that'll be your opportunity then to, you know, to have another body hear your case.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to add? Or
Yeah, I think.
well, then I guess
Floor is closed.
go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, that was the applicant actually speaking from the room, and Stephanie just reminded him the floor is closed.
Okay. Well, with that, does anyone have any motion that they'd like to put forward?
Yeah, Ron, I'll make a motion to deny this current COA.
And do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor of denial, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any nays?
Nay.
Ron, I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining, okay. We have one nay. Is there any other nays or abstentions? Any other nays or abstentions? Rebecca, did you vote?
Yes, I did. I voted to deny it.
Okay, thank you. Well, it looks like we have a 4-1-1 vote here. So Stephanie, what would that mean? That would mean that the denial would carry, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I would encourage the gentleman to please, you know, go through his appeal process. Okay, item number E4, Certificate of Appropriateness number 23-46. Consideration with possible action on a design review for a garage demolition located at 715 South Adams Street. Jason,
15 South Adams Street. There's been a raised repair order on the garage. And initially, staff reviewed and approved a certificate of appropriateness to put a new roof on that garage. But following that, a different COA application came in to raise the garage. Here you see some Google Street views. They're really the same view, just zoomed in. And you can plainly see a 2-car, 1-story garage. It's got pretty significant failure of the roof. I've done a little bit of historical research on this property. On the next slide, you'll see this property more or less at the center of the 1907 Sanborn map. Clearly did not have a garage. The 1936 Sanborn map did have a garage, 1-story, roughly same footprint size as the current garage. I can't say conclusively that the current garage is this 1930s garage, because frankly, there's nothing about the current garage that really screams, I'm a 1960s garage, 70s garage, 1930s garage. I don't know, but I can look back at 1907 and see clearly there was no carriage shed or garage at that time. So recommendation here is to grant approval of raising the garage, recognizing that the current garage really doesn't appear to contribute to the historic integrity of either the property or the district. Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
having a motion and a second to approve, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Is anyone opposed? Is anyone opposed? Seeing that there's no opposition, the motion carries to raise the garage. Item number E5, Certificate of Appropriateness 23-51, consideration with possible action on design review for a new balcony railings located at 1036 South Webster.
So here we see the map and a picture of the front of the property. Before I get too far into this, I just want to say I'm recommending approval, but I really dissect it here so that we can think about it some more. Moving on to the next slide. You see we're discussing specifically the railings on the front balcony, which you see at the top left, and the rear balcony, which you see at the bottom right. They're very similar, but currently on the front balcony, they're very simple balusters, you know, like flat sawn or squarish balusters. On the rear of the house, it's a turned baluster and also a turned newel post. None of this material is original, but it is all wood and painted wood. Ian was kind enough to share with staff some original architectural drawings for this house. That is what you see here. On the south elevation at the left side of the screen, you can see both the front balcony on the right-hand side of the house. Yep. And then the rear balcony, and you'll note a few differences there. The rear balcony had some very unusually tall newel posts, whereas the front balcony did not. And then on the right side of the screen, you see a nice front elevation view. Again, just some details on that front balcony. The next slide, some additional architectural plans. On the left, you see some sketches, architectural sketches of the original balusters or spindles for that front balcony. Pretty cool. I know that those are 1.5 inches square at the top and bottom. And over on the right-hand side, you see the rear balcony details, including the unusually tall newel posts. And looks like 2 different types of turned spindles or balusters. Very neat. Moving ahead a slide, we also have a nice photograph showing that front balcony with what appears to be a match for the architectural plans for those spindles, kind of a turned spindle with some square form portions, and the more ornate newel posts. The proposed replacement material is on the next slide. Most importantly, I note these balusters. they're 2-inch square at the top and bottom. You may recall I mentioned the originals were 1.5-inch square, top and bottom. That's pretty similar. On the right-hand side, the fourth thing down is the newel post. It's just a plain square newel post that's being proposed. And then a whole bunch of, accessories here like railing and post base and the like. So the short story here is that new material is being proposed that does not match the original material, but aesthetically speaking is probably superior to what's currently on the front balcony. Secretary of the Interior standards are, they say that the goal here should be replacing missing features such that the new stuff matches what was originally there. So the Secretary of the Interior standards would be all, celebrating the fact that there are architectural drawings, and then going one further and saying, well, you really ought to match those architectural drawings with your new materials. I'm saying that the new materials aren't any worse than the existing materials. So from a standard that we want to replace something with an equal or better, well, this is arguably equal, slightly better than what's currently there, but not the gold standard of what could be there. So recommendation is to approve. Thank you.
You're muted, Ron.
Jason, recently I drove by there and took a look at that, and it looked to me like there's no spindles at all on the front balcony.
Well, that's news to me.
I beg your pardon?
That would be news to me. Last time I was there, they still had spindles.
Oh, okay. Well, I might have been looking at the wrong thing, but okay. Does anyone want to make a motion here?
I'll make a motion to accept this, and in particular, I want to emphasize this is singularly impressive that they are, in my opinion, improving this by this work. So I want to commend them if they're listening.
I would second your motion, David.
Okay, well, having a motion and a second to approve, all those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye. Is
Aye.
anyone opposed? I'm sorry, is anyone opposed? Is anyone opposed? Is anyone opposed? Seeing that there's no opposition, the ayes carry, and the repair may be done. The spindles may be done. Item F, informational. Stephanie, are you going to take that?
This will be
Or
Jason.
Jason?
I didn't do any of the slides.
Yay.
I beg your pardon?
I did this.
Yep.
So
Okay. Oh,
keep in mind, I love praise, but this is not praiseworthy. There were 3 COA applications for fencing. One at 705 South Adams. It was a backyard fence and along a side yard on the north side. 716 South Quincy. I think that was all backyard. And 709 South Quincy had some in the front yard, but I don't remember how much. Anyway, it was all good stuff. 140 North Oakland also had some fencing, replacing existing fences with new material. This also includes a front porch roof, little entry stoop there, a back deck. It exists and they want to replace it with something similar. So nothing too unusual there. 509 Eliza, a small shed, largely hidden from view, but you might see it. 821 South Quincy, which is non-contributing because it was just built a couple of years ago. They're adding a generator. I thought I had power outage problems, but maybe y'all in Green Bay have them too. 401 Porlier, they want a new driveway, just like their existing driveway, only better. So that got a staff level approval. This one caused me a little bit of hesitation, but I have justified this by saying that the cinder block in the 3rd story windows are effectively storm windows, and I've approved the removal of the storm windows. We don't yet have any COA application or information on proposed replacements for these storm windows or actual windows, but we have been in touch with the applicant and they say that is coming as soon as they get the concrete out of the openings. They can measure and figure out what would best fill those openings.
And we gave them a 60-day timeline on that to submit a new COA for new windows.
Oh, and this one just today, City Hall wants a new roof.
Needs a new roof.
Well,
It's leaking up here.
so we approved a COA for a new roof because the work to be done on that wouldn't be visibly changing anything from public right of way. It's just a new membrane roof with some tuck pointing repairs, either of the penthouse or the backside of the parapets, and a little bit of repair to the parapet caps.
Well, thank you, Jason. Staff update?
Actually, I got a quick question. Is City Hall considered a contributing property?
Yes.
So that one.
Seriously?
It is an awesome contributing property designed by the Werner Schober firm. The State Historic Preservation Officer, Dinah Penkunis, recently toured Werner Schober as well as the county courthouse and City Hall, the building itself. And for City Hall specifically, she's always very complimentary of the high quality of the finish and materials used on this mid-century modern office building. Yay, team.
Very good.
Okay,
So there's that.
I'm sorry.
Meeting.
Yeah, do that.
In October, the State Historical Society and the State Historic Preservation Office are hosting their annual meeting in La Crosse. I think you all received an email about a potential scholarship to pay your way to attend that meeting. If I can put in a shameless plug for that, Stephanie is presenting something at that meeting.
Stephanie and Jason.
Oh, yes, I'll be there too, presenting with Stephanie, co-presenting. I wanted to make Stephanie nervous, but yes, we'll be there talking to people about Green Bay and historic preservation, which should be interesting as soon as we put that together.
Mhm.
But it would be nice if one or more of you show up to cheer us on. So that's all I oh, and intensive level survey work is going to begin in either end of October or early November. And that's likely to be the last phase of our intensive level survey work. That new report will stop short of surveying the outlying peripheral areas of the city, largely because SHPO feels that those areas are unlikely to yield a whole lot of buildings per number of buildings surveyed, which is maybe unfortunate because I know there's some mid-century modern stuff out there, but they've kind of candidly said they don't want to pay for it. So that's where we're at right now. Anything else, Stephanie? Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. I would like to just add that I did reply. I think I replied to all of you that I'm having a medical procedure on the 18th of October, so I am unavailable to go to that. So if anybody else feels like they really want to go to it, please do. Next up is a staff update. Stephanie?
Oh, that was our staff update, sorry.
I'm sorry.
That was
Oh,
our.
that was staff. Okay. Date of next meeting is Wednesday, October 18th, 2023. Anybody, anything else to add before we have a motion to adjourn?
I'd just like to say congratulations to David. I understand you're a big shot with the literary community.
Yes, it's the book I'm working on is the Ian Griffith story. I expect to really make a mark. No, well, actually, my book on the history of the fire department came out 7 years ago. So way to get right on top of things, Paul. But thank you very much.
I saw you've got a book reading or something coming up.
Yeah, it's on the early history of the fire department, which is how I got onto this commission. And what's impressive is that the community has still got intrigue about the history. In fact, I'm here at Woodlawn right now because I'm doing a cemetery portrayal of a firefighter as part of the Brown County Historical Society. So it's a project that I thought would be a flash in the pan and has turned into quite the endeavor. So thanks.
Very nice.
I just have one more thing if I could, Ron. I believe this is going to be my last meeting. My commission second go around ended this last month. And while I was working on trying to find a suitable replacement, I was nominated back onto the commission in the last city council meeting. But now that I have a replacement identified and shared with Stephanie, this is likely my last commission meeting, and I appreciate the time and energy and effort you all put in every month.
Well, thank you, Ian.
Thank you, Ian.
You'll definitely be missed.
He assured me.
Appreciate
he
you.
Ian, I learned a lot from you.
him
Absolutely.
Well,
anytime,
Appreciate your contributions.
or he's not going that far.
What's that,
I'm
Seth?
I'm still available if needed, but
Well, at least
Okay.
I have a final chapter in the Ian Griffith story.
that's right.
Quick question for David, does Woodlawn have a portico share in that facility or no?
Absolutely it does, and I've been referring to it to the disconsternation of everyone else.
Excellent.
Well, with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
and we have a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Okay, bye, guys.